Welcome to Python with Andrew, where we look at some short, sharp videos to help us improve our Python skills and just, if you like, learn some of the fundamentals of Python. Today, I'm going to look at the for loop again, and this time look at a couple of common mistakes that people make when they do use the for loop. One is a mistake that people make. One is more of a style comment that I suggest that you don't do. It's perfectly legal, but I recommend not doing it. Let's jump right into it. Again, I jump over to my trusty Visual Studio Code, my preferred editor. And as you can see, I have got a simple loop, a for loop that we've probably all seen before. And if I run this loop, you will see it says in the loop 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2 times. So that loop does go 3 times. Now, one mistake I see people make a lot is, and let's assume it was a more complex loop, during that loop, they might set the variable I to, I don't know, let's say 3, okay? And expecting that by setting the variable, it impacts the loop. But if I run this now, you'll see that the loop doesn't change. So the lesson is that doesn't matter if you try and change the counter, this counter I up here, all right, it's always going to do it 3 times because that's what you asked for it to do in line 6. And that's what you'd expect for a for loop. A for loop is let's do something a certain number of times. So resetting the variable, whether it's to 3 or 30, it doesn't change the loop at all. So that's one common mistake I see, that someone would try and change the counter. Now, of course, when we talk about the while loop, that is a very different situation, and we'll talk about that another time. Another mistake that I make, and I mentioned that I don't think it is not a mistake from a Python. You can do it. I just don't suggest that you do it. And that's using the break statement. So the break, if I type in the word break, what the break means in Python is when you hit that line, break out of the loop, break out of the while loop, break out the for loop, and then carry on. And sometimes it's used when something changes and you don't want to do the repetition again and again and again. So now if I run this, it will not go 3 times, it will only go once in the loop. 0 hits the break and then jumps out and comes down to line 10 and would continue on further down here. So it is perfectly legal and acceptable syntax. I do not recommend it at all. It makes your code more complex because you need to then explain why did you do this break. And if we think about it, the reason we used a for statement is because we said we need to do the repetition 3 times. So we're going into this expecting to do it 3 times, not 3 times unless we decide to break. So I don't think it's a good practice. Of course, many people might disagree with me, and that's okay. We should always listen to different views, but I always focus on how can I make my Python code simple and easy for other people to understand, and putting a break inside of it, I believe, doesn't make it any easier. Even if, for example, we had a condition in there, so let x equals stop. Let's assume that's what we had there. Oops, let me just fix that up there. Now I can't run this because I haven't defined x. So let's say up the top here, if I define x equals stop. Okay, not sure why I would do that, but if I now run that, it would do the loop once and jump out. So I've got a condition based on something changing. Maybe we're asking for input from the user and they change their mind. I don't think that is a good process. If you want to do that, or you have that in your mind, that I want to keep going unless something happens, then I do not recommend the for loop. I would recommend the while loop as a better way of doing that, a more clearer way and simpler way of doing that. Having said that, when I do talk about the while loop, I'll also say I don't like the break statement there either. So I'm going to get rid of the break statement, and I'll get rid of this and go back to my original nice, simple use of the for loop, and it does exactly what I'd expect. So that's all there is for today. Again, thanks for tuning in. As always, it would do me a good favor if you subscribed, if you like these videos. Also, if you can, share this. If you know someone else that's learning Python, share this video with them and ask them to learn a few of the tips and techniques. And also, if you have any comments, feel free to leave those in the comments section. Thank you.